So today I want to talk about depression. Depression is one of the most difficult emotional states. It tells us that we can't do the very things we need to do to get better. But there are a few things we need to know about depression. First, there's more than one kind. There's chemical depression, which is literally a chemical imbalance in the brain. Circumstantial depression, something happens and it causes us to be depressed. Existential depression, which basically means we don't know what life is all about. And then spiritual depression, which can be caused by sin in its classical sense, separation from God, or it can be caused by spirits. And that's not to say that you can't have one or more of these overlapping, two or more of these overlapping. So let's look at each of these in turn. The first one, which is the one that society most recognizes, is chemical depression. If you go to a doctor and tell them you have depression, they are likely to prescribe an antidepressant. An antidepressant is designed to even out the imbalance in your brain, which is great if that's what you have. But often people have another kind of depression and they go get help from a psychiatrist or a doctor and they're treated for chemical depression. And that isn't helpful in the long run. Often we become depressed because of circumstances. We lose a job, we lose a loved one, something in our life goes wrong, and we become depressed. And that's a normal reaction. The problem is when we get stuck in it and can't get out. And that's when we need help from someone who can help us work through the feelings, like a therapist or a psychologist. They're very good at helping with circumstantial depression. And it does take time. There's no easy fix for that. We are going through a process, usually of loss. And processing that loss takes time. Existential depression is more difficult. If we don't know what the purpose of life is, if we don't know what we're doing here, medicine and psychology don't have a lot to offer. Psychology will tell us that we need to have a purpose. They don't know how to help us find it. So that brings us into the area of philosophy or religion. What is the meaning of life? For those of us who are Christians, the meaning of life is to serve God, to work in his world, to help others. And for me, that has provided an answer where I never had an answer before. Well, what is the point? Lastly, there's spiritual depression. Spiritual depression happens when we feel so separated from God that there seems like there's no hope. And that is literally the condition of sin. When Adam and Eve disobeyed and tried to become their own gods, they separated themselves from God. They were cast out of the garden. And we continue that pattern. We try to be our own gods. We don't want to believe that someone else is in control. We need to be in control. And when we're not, we can get depressed. There can also be the influence of unclean spirits, especially for those of us who've struggled with addiction or trauma or childhood abuse. Those are gateways for unclean spirits. I'm not saying that everyone has them, but for those of us with that kind of a background, most of us seem to. And that's where we definitely need spiritual help. Pastors, pastoral counselors, and other kinds of healers can help us get back right with God. Deliverance ministers can help us with the spirit problem. I've been through that. My family has been through that. We had no idea how afflicted we were with spirits until they were gone. There is help out there for each of these if we reach out. But sometimes we can't reach out. Sometimes we can't even pray. When that happens, don't discount the prayer of groaning. Psalm 5 tells us that God hears our groanings as well as our verbal prayers. Sometimes we need to reach out to a friend just for support, to reach out for help. Sometimes we can't even do that. We need to have someone reach out to us, even though we may think we don't want help or even are beyond help. The point is, there is help out there if we ask for it. or if we accept it when it's offered. No one is beyond help. Jesus tells us that. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. Even though sometimes that doesn't feel true, it is true. One of the things we do in this ministry is to be there for anyone who struggles with depression. We don't have all the answers, but we can support you in getting the help that you need. And there are some things like deliverance ministry, and I just lost what I was going to say. Deliverance ministry and spiritual direction that we can help with. And we can always pray with you, sit with you, listen to you. If you're struggling with depression, get help. Call us, call someone. Don't let yourself sink beyond hope. And there is only one place beyond hope. That's when we stop breathing. Amen.